Welcome to a new episode of the e-commerce lab by 𝐂𝐈𝐊𝐄. My name is Vincenzo Toscano. I'm the CEO of 𝐂𝐈𝐊𝐄, and today we're going to be discussing what is the best method to find the initial keywords to launch your Amazon PPC campaigns in 2022. So when it comes to researching the keywords for your Amazon PPC campaigns, it's essential that you focus on finding, of course, the most important keywords, not just in terms of relevancy, but also in terms of search volume. And today we're going to be discussing how we do that. And at the same time, we help you identify the keywords where you have a bigger chance of success on those initial days when, of course, it is going to be more difficult for you to generate those conversions that are going to lead you to the sales required to scale your product on Amazon. So we're gonna jump right now into Amazon. I have Amazon open right here. So for people that's listening to me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to also have a look at the visual episode on YouTube. Just it's easier for you to understand everything we've been explaining today. So basically, the first thing that you want to do whenever you want to research the keywords for your product is that you need to identify what is the main keyword, right? Because if you don't identify the main keyword for your product, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what to basically find the main competitors around the keywords that you want to sell. So the first thing that we do is we try to identify the main keyword. How do we do that? So I'm going to use the example always use, which is a water bottle. This is a very competitive product, so I never advise anybody to sell it. But just to use it as an example here, the first thing that you need to do is try to start with a keyword that you think is the main one. Most of the time, it's not going to be the case, but of course, we need to start in somewhere, right? So in this case, let's say I want to sell a water bottle. What do? I go to Amazon, I put a water bottle in Amazon, and then the first thing that I'm gonna do is I wait for the results to load, and then I'm gonna do a bit of a skim over the titles and see what is the keyword that is repeated a lot in the title, right? So here is very obvious that water bottle is the main keyword because it's not just about the frequency that the keyword is being repeated, but also the positioning. If the keyword, you see that keyword always being positioned at the beginning of the title, such as here, water bottle is also on the initial phrase, water bottle here, water bottle. So you see almost all within the initial position of the title, and that automatically makes you understand that this keyword is super important and most likely is the main keyword. So once we identify this main keyword, the second step we're gonna do is we're gonna use our tool here, Helium 10. For everybody not having this tool right now that is listening to this, feel free to check on the description of this episode. I'm gonna be dropping an exclusive discount that Helium 10 is giving to me. That is gonna give you 50% on your first month. So it's gonna be VIN 50. And you can also use the second discount they provide us, which is VIN 10, and it's gonna give you 10% for life. So that means for anybody getting started, if you just want to get a flavor of the tool, which I always recommend because it has everything that you need on Amazon in terms of research and the data, use that coupon VIN50 and you get 50% on your first month. Okay. So coming back to the content. So let's say we're here. Once we are here, of course, we need to use the tool to start getting the data. So we're going to open the Helium 10 extension. We're going to use the tool called X-Ray. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to identify who is basically the main seller on this main keyword and that they are positioned on the page one for this keyword and they are ranking organically. The number one mistake I also see when people researching competitors is that the focus on the sponsored products. You don't want to focus on the sponsored products at the beginning, because you need to understand that the reason why they are on page one is because you're paying to be there, right? They are not there because basically they're performing well for the keyword or because they're making tons of sales. Most likely they're just paying a lot of money to be there, and that's not going to be the good starting point for you, because first of all, if they are there just by the means of advertising and not organically, most likely it means they are not on page one on most of the other keywords. And that means that when it comes the time to use a tool such as Helium 10 to do the reverse ASIN study to find the keywords, you're not going to find the main keywords, right? So you want to use the filter options here, and you want to remove sponsored products. And once you remove the sponsored product, guys, you're gonna be able to have a more clean vision of what are the main sellers in here. So the other thing that you want to do is that you want to keep them in the same order that they are, because this is organically how the product are being positioned by Amazon. And that means that if Amazon is positioning them on this current order, that means that the higher the product is organically ranked, that means the better is doing overall. And take into consideration also that this is a main keyword, it means that they're definitely making tons of sales. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna proceed to select the top selling products. Um, you're gonna find sometimes that some products don't have the data shown. That's sometimes because the tool is not able to extract that from Amazon, and also because sometimes it may happen that certain categories don't provide the data straight to the tool, and you're gonna find these empty spaces. So try to always focus on the products that already have the data loaded in the respective tool that you're using. So in this case, we're gonna start by selecting the top 10 products. And sometimes people ask me, why just 10? Well, the reason is because in this specific case, Helium 10 just is going to allow you to use 10 products, right? So you want to make sure you use all the slots to basically do the research for this specific product. Another thing that I also want to point out is that this is actually a good example to bring this up, is that let's say I'm selling a water bottle. At the moment of doing keyword research, and you put a keyword like water bottle that is very broad, you're gonna find yourself that in that keyword itself, you might encounter the same product, which is a water bottle, but maybe with different functionalities. So one functionality can be that it has a basically a writings on the bottle to tell you when you're drinking enough water. Other bottles are going to be made out of plastic, other bottles are going to be made out of glass, stainless steel. So you get the idea. So it's very important that when you go to select the top 10 products, you focus on the one that is the closest to the one that you want to sell. Otherwise, you may encounter data and keywords that not really reflect the product that you want to sell. So taking that into consideration, what I want to do here is I want to proceed to select products, and I'm going to take this for example that are made out of stainless steel only. So if we go to the selection process again, you're gonna see that actually the first 10 products I selected, I actually need to remove a few because they're made out of plastic. And in this case, I wanna focus on the ones made out of stainless steel. So this is made out of stainless steel, this is stainless steel, this is plastic, so we're gonna remove it. So you get the idea. I wanna filter that down as close as possible to the product that resembles the one that I want to sell, to make sure that at the moment when I do the reverse ASIN study of that product, the tool is gonna actually throw the data as accurate as possible, right? So let's see, we're gonna select this one as well. This one's made out of plastic. So let's try to find our other ones made out of stainless steel. This stainless steel. This seems to be plastic as well. Okay, we got now 7 products and we have 3 to go. So sometimes you're gonna encounter, of course, that some products or categories you're not gonna be able to find the 10 products because there are just not many people selling exactly what you're selling. That's totally fine. Just select as many as you're able to find on page 1, right? So here we go. We have 10 products in here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna jump straight into a what we call Cerebro, which is a tool from Helium 10. You're gonna run the keyword research. This is gonna allow you to basically find the best information in terms of keywords around these top 10 sellers that are ranking for this main keyword. What you want to do once you reach this point is that now we're going to implement a series of filters to, of course, bring this even lower in terms of amount of data. Because most likely, when you do this the first time and you bring your top 10 competitors, you're going to find thousands of keywords. And of course, there is no way you can advertise for that amount of keywords. And most likely, most of them are not going to make sense anyway. So in this case, we have 54,000 keywords. I mean, there is no way you can advertise for this amount of keywords. So the first thing I do is I like to filter down with keywords that have at least 1,000 search volume. This, of course, may be lower in some categories. In some categories, 1,000 may be very high, but for the sake of this example, I know 1,000 is actually low compared to the demand of this product. So you're gonna see as soon as I put 1,000, 54,000 is gonna drop to 3,000. Again, this is still plenty of keywords. We want to filter this even further. What do? We use something called an advanced filter within Helium term, which basically is going to allow us to validate the consistency of the ranking of these main products on these main keywords across the board. So I'm going to put the data in, and then I'm going to explain why I put these numbers in. All right. So here, what I'm saying is, as you can see in the filter, for those listening, the filter is called advanced rank filter. And within that filter, you have async minimum and async maximum. In minimum, you want to put 5. Basically, what we're saying to the tool is we want to focus on at least keywords that are consistent across 5 of the 10 competitors. And the reason is very simple. If these competitors are ranking on that keyword at least 50% of the time across the board, it means it's an important keyword. It's basically a validation filter. And then 1 to 30, which is the positioning, which is the extra field you have within this filter, is basically saying just show me the keywords that are consistent across the board at least 50% of the time, where these people are ranking on page 1. Why page 1, you may ask? Is because on page 1 usually you have between 1 and 40, 45 slots. This is going to depend on the category as well. And basically what we're saying here with 1 and 30 is focus on page 1. Okay, so we're going to apply the filter, and you're going to see how we're going to go from 3,000 keywords plus to 96 keywords. Now it's much more clean, right? Once we reach this point, you of course want to apply some kind of also manual filtering, right? So what do I mean with manual filtering? The thing with this kind of keywords and niches, when there are big brands competing, you're gonna find that it's very common to see brands to basically already dominating in terms of search terms. You may find a lot of search terms with brands embedded on it. So what you want to do in this scenario is that you want to remove those brands. So you want to do a manual search. For example, you see a lot the Yeti, which is a brand. So one way to do it is manually. Another way to do it is you have a filter in here where it's called exclude phrases containing. If you put Yeti here, it's gonna exclude those, and we're gonna go from 96 to 88. Owala is also a brand. We might remove that manually. Actually, let's also put here. Voila. Okay. 85 keywords. You also have a other brands. So you get the idea. You want to have this as clean as possible, because if you don't, you might then encounter yourself targeting a lot of brands. That is not the purpose of your PPC campaigns. You want to go for generic terms, because most likely if somebody is filtering by brand, that means they already have a bias of what they want to purchase, right? So once you do with the brands, which is what we're trying to do here very quickly to keep it short, the next thing that you want to do is you want to proceed to also filter based on in this specific scenario, the size of the bottle. In your case, it might be the material. Once again, it might be the functionality. So let's say that, for example, in my case, my bottle is made out of 40 ounces, right? Or 32, because it's the one that is appearing the most. Anything else, guys, you want to remove it, right? Because why would you be advertising for something that is not 32 ounces when it doesn't make sense? You are basically gonna be wasting money on a keyword that a person already made their mind up about what they want to purchase, right? So again, you want to filter that down, and you want to remove it. Once you select those keywords, right, you want to click here and you want to delete them. Now we are at 80 keywords. After you do this, let's say you also want to go more in depth, and for example, let's imagine your bottle doesn't have a straw, right? You also want to proceed to go in there and remove anything that doesn't have a straw. You also want to take the opportunity while you do that and also filter based on color. Let's say your bottle is made out of a black material, right? It's color black. If you see other colors that are not black, what is the point of advertising for that keyword? Again, the same thing that we've been mentioning so far. So you want to click in here and see if you have something that, again, this is a brand straw. We are not selling that. We're not selling that. So you want to have this list as clean as possible. We also not selling bulk. You delete this, and now you guys can see how we went from 50 plus keywords to 80, right? This again can be filtering even further. Again, to be efficient, I want to just jump straight away into the next steps, but you get the idea. You want to make sure you clean it as much as possible and make it relevant to your product. Once you come with a list of around this size, 50 to 100 keywords, these are usually the keywords you want to get started with. The thing is, the amount of keywords you want to get started with is also going to depend on your budget, because most of you, I might understand, of course, that the budget might be limited and you don't have hundreds and hundreds of dollars to launch towards PPC towards your first days. What you want to do instead is that you want to start with the long tail keywords first, right? Because those are going to be the less expensive keyword. So how do you filter them? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to use a filter which is called word count, right? So in here you want to say, okay, I want to focus on keywords that have at least 4 words in the phrase. So this is going to allow you to remove straight away very competitive keywords, such as, for example, a water bottle that is crazy expensive, and keywords along those bases. So here we went from 50 plus keywords to 23. These keywords, you can see the search volume is healthy, it's over 1,000, so you definitely can get a few sales there. And at the same time, you are going to encounter some keywords that, of course, are very competitive. So this one, for example, we can remove it because we're not selling a straw. But the next second keyword here has 57,000 search volume. So most likely this is a keyword I might remove on my initial campaigns, right? I might remove it because it's very competitive to get started with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on my top. In this case, if we apply the filter again, we have, I believe, 22 keywords, because we need to remove the one we just deleted. So you're going to take the long tail keywords and you're going to create 3 types of campaigns, right? Actually, yeah, 3 types you're going to get started. You're going to create an exact match campaign, which is basically going to contain all these initial long tail keywords. You're going to create also a product targeting campaign, which I'm going to explain next after I finish explaining the keyword targeting, and you're going to create an automatic campaign. So with the exact targeting campaign, what you're going to do is you're going to include these initial keywords, and you're going to add them to your Amazon PPC dashboard. And what you want to do is that when you add them, you're going to encounter a recommended bid, right? So this recommended bid is usually what I advise people to use when getting started, and usually put a 10% on top of that. So if the bid is, let's say, $1, put a modifier of 10%, and it's going to allow you to bid, let's say, $1.10, right? And you start with that. And then what you're going to allow that exact campaign is run at least 1 to 2 weeks. And once you start getting some data, then you can adjust from there, and you can decide, of course, if you want, for example, to migrate these keywords, let's say, to their own campaign to have better control or things like that. So that is the exact campaign. Then going to the product targeting campaign, of course, I'm not going to go too much in there because that would be another video which is different from keywords. What you want to do with product targeting campaign is that you want to make sure once you come into the page 1 of your main keyword, you of course want to remove the products that don't relate to yours, like the plastic ones. And once you clean the list, you're going to download this as an Excel file, and you're going to take those ASINs and you're going to target them. So usually start also with not a lot of them, like 20, maximum 20, 30, because otherwise it might get expensive. Then based on data, you also can decide if you're going to move those ASINs to the own campaign or keep them. The third campaign might be an automatic campaign. So this automatic campaign, I know some people might ask me, should I add these keywords as a negative one? And the answer is no, because usually the bids that you're gonna have in this exact campaign are gonna be always higher than your automatic campaign anyway. So that's gonna be avoid that they compete between each other. And also that you're gonna remember that sometimes you might encounter keywords performing better at the automatic level compared to the manual match campaign. So you never want to use negative keywords from day one. You want to use it just as you get the data, and based on performance you take the decision. Then the final point will be, okay, I have my exact campaign, my pro targeting automatic campaign. So what happens then with my, let's say, phrase and broad? So with phrase and broad, usually what you can do is you have two options here. So the first option is that you can also use these long tail campaigns and you can put them in your phrase and broad, but most likely they're not going to perform well because they're very long already, right? So it's very difficult that you're going to find phrases that are going to be longer than this or broad that contain all this amount of keywords. So what you can do is that in this case, you're going to put the maximum here at 3, right? And you're gonna now go back to the short keywords, right? So with the short keywords, what you want to do is you want to include these keywords on your phrase and your broad campaigns, right? And basically this is going to allow you, because these are very short keywords. And by the way, you also want to remove all these keywords that are very competitive, because here most likely you're not going to convert. So you want to focus on keywords that have under 10,000 search volume at the most. So you want to focus on these that are short keywords, and you want to put in your phrase and broad. So these ones most likely are going to be very expensive, also for the fact that you're putting them on phrase and broad. But the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm not actually really focusing on the keyword as it is as a whole, as an exact match. I'm putting them on phrase and broad because it's going to allow me to discover other long tail keywords as the list we already have an exact match. And the reason why we want to discover those is because those are actually the keywords that you might perform better in the first place, because there is less competition. In these keywords that are very short, you might also do an exact campaign with those, but most likely your performance is going to be lower compared to the long tail, because competition usually tends to be higher. Just also for the simple fact that they're easier to find, these keywords, right? So everybody's going to go exact match crazy bits. So the key here is to focus on those long tail keywords that have less competition, and then as you start building your organic ranking and you start building your revenue, you go hard on these keywords, right? So coming back to these exact match keywords, let's say you decide to take the top 15, 20 keywords, which is actually also the maximum I would advise to put on a campaign. Don't put more than 20 keywords if your budget is not big, because then realistically just 4 or 5 keywords are going to take all the budget. So try to keep the campaigns very short in quantity. And once you create the phrase and broad with these short tail keywords, you also want to make sure that you add the keywords from the exact campaign, right, as a negative here, because I know that I mentioned that in the automatic you don't want to do that, but here remember that the purpose of the phrase and broad here, we're not focusing on performance. We're actually using these short tail keywords for research purposes. So we don't want to discover we are not focused here on making sales as we are with exact campaign. Here we actually want to discover keywords to move them into exact. So you want to negate the long tail keywords you put in exact, because of course you just want the system to allow you to discover new phrases, right? And that's usually the strategy we recommend. We recommend having the exact campaign with long tail keywords. We recommend you having phrase and broad with these short tail keywords that are very competitive, but the purpose of this is to discover even more keywords, right? Then you're going to have the pro targeting, and then you're going to have the automatic one. So this is usually going to run through the first week or two. I usually advise at least 2 weeks. And then we decide to section all these campaigns based on performance. So based on performance, you're gonna then start adjusting bids. You're gonna start adjusting the negative keywords, and then you're gonna jump into the next phase, which is creating exact campaigns with one keyword on it, which I think a lot of people don't do, and it's very important. So let's say down the line you discover a long-term keyword that is performing super well. So, for example, if we go back to the long-term keywords here, you discover that for some specific reason, the phrase that is stainless steel water bottle is performing amazing for you. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna divide that from your main exact match campaign that has 15, 20 keywords, and you're gonna put it into their own individual exact match campaign. And this is basically gonna allow you to then control the budget much easier, right? And in there you're also going to be able to do things such as placement adjustments. So basically, placement adjustments, for those people that might not know, is going to allow you to adjust where the product is going to show when the advertisement is being shown. And Amazon actually allows you to adjust the bids in terms of how much you want to put towards this. So what you're going to do is you're going to adjust the bid based on the placement. So for example, if you're going to focus on top of the placement, Amazon is going to allow you to adjust and say, okay, instead of bidding $1, I want to bid $2, which is 100% for top of the placement. And this one keyword, one type campaign are going to allow you that. Okay. So I think that's it. Everything for today. I think I don't want to make it too long because, of course, this can get much more complicated. And this is more for the beginning stages of your Amazon PPC campaigns. Down the line, I'm going to make sure to also make an episode more for the advanced levels in terms of optimization and really bringing the campaigns to life once you have that data. So I appreciate everybody to turning on today. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like it, and also share it with your community. It helps a lot to bring more people to discover our content. And remember that if you're looking to receive more support in the Amazon space, you can also book a consultation with us, which is free, the first one. And we're going to make sure we analyze your business in depth and see how we can support you. Okay. So thank you guys. Remember to also see all our content in podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And you can also actually see it on Google Podcasts if you like to use that platform as well. Okay. Thank you, and see you in the